Hi, this is Matt Bianchi with the MITRE Corporation. I'm here to demo the pre-release of ESUS. This pre-release is representative of some of the work in progress to provide a service that will help us replace the GitHub process. This is the repo where we're storing the services, so this is also where ESUS lives. It defaults to the dev branch, but when you clone this, make sure to go to the pre-release branch for the pre-release. This README is up to date for the pre-release branch. So some of the technologies that will be required for you to run this is Node.js, Mongo, and NPM. There's some setup where you'll need to install the dependencies inside of the repo. You'll need to have Mongo installed. It works off of the default configuration, so the API will automatically connect to your Mongo instance. And then there are some instructions for how to start the application. So I've already installed dependencies. You can see that I have MongoDB Compass right here attached to my MongoDB instance. Before you run the application, you'll want to create CVE_dev as a database, but the collections will be automatically created for when they are needed by the API. So I'm going to start this and run through the full run of what this pre-release can offer. As you'll see, a package called PM2 runs the application. It actually runs multiple threads, and it'll refresh when code changes if you decide to contribute and develop. But this is just going to get moved over here. This is Postman, and inside of this folder is where all of my requests that I will use live, and they also will be in the test folder on the pre-release branch under Postman. So I've exported those into a JSON format, and you can import those into Postman. So what you are going to want to do is you're going to want to create a CNA so that then you can have a user that associates with that CNA to try this API out. And you create it by creating some JSON in a post body with a name and a short name. The short name being the identifier we actually use in the code base. So my example is the White House and short name White House. So I'll be able to send this, and you'll get a message saying it was successfully created. It's a 200, and if we refresh the contents of the CNA collection, we have the White House in there. Then you'll want to create a user. Same thing. In the JSON body, you'll want to create a username, and then there is a name object with additional fields, so you can provide a first and last name. As you see, we're going with a Scandal theme, so we've got Fitzgerald Grant here with the username of Fitz. Now what's important when you create this is I'm going to send the post, and then for your convenience, it's created an API secret for you. So you're going to want to capture that. And then with any of your posts that you make for creating a CVE, you're going to need to include that in the header, which I'll show you shortly. Oh, and then the user is created in the user collection. Let's see. We can do some gets. And by the way, all these endpoints are open. They don't require actually authorization in headers, just because these are convenient for you so that you can actually create a user, so you can actually interact with the endpoints that will be open when we replace the GitHub submission service, and they'll have authentication, which I'll show later. So if we want to get a CNA, we can get the list of them. And of course you see this is an array, and it only contains the White House for now. Then we can grab the White House with the short name, and this one's just an object because it returns 1. And then we can grab Fitz, and we'll get Fitz's details, but without his API secret. So now we'd want to submit a CVE. These have, at least for now, the most up-to-date version 5 compliant JSON, CVE JSON schema. This is still in the works though, so this is changing. So for the pre-release, this has kind of been frozen, at least in version control, but this is, I expect, going to change. But we do have some examples inside of this JSON that we've exported into the repo of the bare minimum to satisfy CVE JSON version 5 as up to date as we could grab it. Of course, it has great examples of how not to fill out the data, but it is compliant. So you can use this to try and form your own JSON to try it out. Then in the headers, you'll see that we have 3 authentication headers: CNA, submitter, and secret. And they correspond to the short name of the CNA that Fitz belongs to and Fitz's username. And then I'm going to include his secret. So now we should be able to submit this CVE and have it go into the database. As we see, we've got a 200 OK and the CVE has been created. We go into the collection and we can see that it exists and has all the information that we put in it. There isn't a get at this time for CVEs. This is because this is meant to integrate with some of MITRE's internal systems, and it would get this CVE actually from that internal system. That's within MITRE networks, so this pre-release can't have that code for you to try out. It would obviously time out and fail, and you wouldn't be able to use this. So it's not included, but that's how you will eventually be able to get with this API until this cve-service can be operational to a point where we can actually start supplying CVE list information like the GitHub does. Just so that we can show some JSON errors, excuse my cough, I believe these are actually formatted in JSON 4. So if I actually make a submission with these, making sure to include API secret, and we see we get JSON errors. So the validation failed, and this is returned from the JSON validation library that's parsing the JSON and the schema. So we're missing the effects property. It requires the containers property, and so on and so forth. And that wraps up the demo. Hope this was useful, and we accept all kinds of feedback. If you have some bugs that you have found that you want to submit, you can submit them to the issues board, and we have plenty of instruction on how to help contribute in the contributing markdown. And also, if you have some pressing issues and you would like to see if you can get some help, we have a chat room inside of Gitter, and I welcome you all to join. Thank you.